Welcome to the deep dive.
Great to be here.
Today we're really getting into something important, the complexities around stopping citalopram. You probably know it as Celexa or Cipromil. Our goal here is pretty straightforward. Cut through some of the confusing info out there and give you clear, solid insights for coming off it safely.
Yeah, and it's fascinating, really, how much the actual patient experience can differ from, the standard advice. There's some pretty surprising gaps between what people often hear and the latest research.
Definitely. Let's unpack that main challenge first, because that's where the disconnect really starts, right?
Right.
Citalopram, it works well for many, but stopping it, that's much trickier than often presented.
It really is.
A lot of the standard clinical guidelines does say withdrawal symptoms are, mild. They say it resolves quickly, maybe 2 to 4 weeks.
But that's where we see this huge issue. Patient reports, and actually new research, especially out of the UK, it paints a very different picture. More than half of people coming off antidepressants get withdrawal.
More than half.
Wow. And get this, 46% say those symptoms are severe and protracted.
Meaning they last longer?
Much longer. Not just weeks, we're talking months, sometimes even years. And this underestimation, it often leads to misdiagnosis. Withdrawal gets mistaken for the original illness coming back.
So it looks like a relapse.
Exactly, which can then lead to people going back on medication they might not actually need at that point. It's a cycle.
That's a huge discrepancy. Why do you think withdrawal, especially severe, long-lasting withdrawal, has been so missed by the guidelines for so long?
Well, it's complicated. Partly historical views, partly just the difficulty in, tracking patient experiences long-term. With citalopram specifically, it's an SSRI, intermediate half-life, around 35 hours.
Okay.
So withdrawal symptoms usually start pretty quickly, maybe 2 to 4 days after dosing or stopping.
Right.
And crucially, something like alternate day dosing. That's a definite no-go. It's contraindicated.
Good to know. So how can you, the listener, tell the difference? Withdrawal versus relapse?
Key differences to look for. Withdrawal often starts fast, right after a dose change. And it can have unique symptoms, things people call brain zaps.
Brain zaps. What are those like?
Kind of like a brief electric shock feeling, often in the head, sometimes triggered by moving your eyes. It's quite distinct. And withdrawal symptoms usually get better quickly if you reinstate the dose.
Okay. And relapse?
Relapse tends to come on slower. And the symptoms are more like the original depression or anxiety returning. Less of those specific physical withdrawal feelings.
Got it. So if the signs are subtle and easily missed, how do we move towards a real solution? This is where tapering comes in, right? That gradual dose reduction.
Yes, absolutely essential. And always under medical supervision.
And let me just emphasize, stopping abruptly. Highly discouraged. Don't do it.
Definitely not. But here's the fascinating part, why the traditional way of tapering often doesn't work well.
The linear taper.
Exactly, the linear taper, especially when you get down to the lower doses. And the reason is, well, it's about the brain chemistry. The drug's effect on serotonin transporters isn't linear.
Ah, okay. So cutting the dose in half doesn't cut the effect in half.
Precisely.
Yeah.
At lower doses, even a small milligram reduction can cause a huge sudden drop in that biological effect. Your brain experiences a massive change very abruptly, and that's what can trigger severe withdrawal.
Which leads us to the breakthrough, hyperbolic tapering.
Yes, the first method really based on this neurobiology.
So instead of cutting by, say, 5 milligram each time.
Right. With hyperbolic tapering, you reduce the dose by progressively smaller amounts as the total dose gets lower. Think percentages of the current dose, often getting smaller and smaller.
The goal being?
The goal is to achieve a smooth, linear reduction in receptor occupancy, what your brain actually feels.
And this isn't just theory, right? It's being adopted.
It is. The Royal College of Psychiatrists in the UK has adopted this principle.
So how do you actually do that, making such tiny cuts?
It requires precision. Often using liquid citalopram, it comes in formulations like 40 milligrams per ml, so you can measure tiny doses like 2 milligrams per drop.
Wow, okay.
Or working with special compounding pharmacies that can make custom doses. There are even things called tapering strips now. Pre-packaged tiny doses that make it easier.
And are they effective?
The data looks promising. Success rates around 70–72%, even in people who couldn't get off the medication before. It's about making that precision practical.
So let's bring this back to the listener. If you're thinking about this, what are the key takeaways for your journey?
Okay, first, it has to be individualized. Your taper plan needs to be your plan.
And slow. Much slower than people might think.
Much slower. If you've been on, say, 20 milligrams daily for a year, a safe taper might take 12 months, 24 months. maybe even longer.
Right. And it has to be flexible.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
If withdrawal symptoms become too much, you might need to pause the taper or even go back up slightly on the dose for a bit.
And that's not failure, right?
Not at all. As part of a smart, patient-focused process, listen to your body.
Constant monitoring of symptoms seems key too.
Vital. And keeping that conversation going with your doctor. Open communication is critical.
And what about other support?
Don't forget non-drug strategies. Things like cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, can really help manage symptoms. Also, regular exercise, good nutrition, making sleep a priority. They all build resilience.
So really, it sounds like we need a fundamental shift.
We do. Moving away from these rigid, fast protocols.
Towards something flexible, tailored to the individual.
And based on the actual neurobiology, patient-centered and informed by science.
Which leaves us with a pretty big thought, doesn't it?
I think so.
Shouldn't these detailed, transparent conversations about withdrawal risks, about how difficult discontinuation can be, shouldn't that happen before you even start an antidepressant?
That's the goal, isn't it? So you can make truly informed decisions about your health right from the very beginning, empowering you.